Are we live?
Stop saying that.
Oh, we started.
We're recording. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tell me about those new bows you bought.
Those new bows I bought.
Yeah.
That doesn't narrow it down. Which one?
The ones that you bought recently.
Oh,
Yeah.
I bought an Oak Ridge Shade riser and Oak Ridge Shade limbs. It's a £35 bow. It's an ILF bow.
What is that?
That means is there is a standard of equipment out there. It's called ILF. It stands for International Limb Fitting. And what it means is that a number of bow manufacturers and companies agreed, not in a kind of a majorly official standardized way, but they agreed that parts of their bows could be interchangeable with other parts of bows. I could buy a riser or a handle from one company and buy a set of limbs, which had the upper and lower parts of the bow, from another company, and they would fit. Similarly, with other little attachments, things like rests and wrist slings, so the bolts are the same threads, things like that. So that all basically, so if you buy a bow and it's an international limb fitting, it basically means that the limbs are interchangeable between different bows.
Cool.
Doesn't mean that the bow is any better or worse than a bow that isn't. It just gives people an option for changing.
Bit of flexibility.
Bit of flexibility, exactly.
Cool. So you bought.
So I bought a second one of those. I played with it a little bit last night, and it's very nice. So I need to get some arrows for it, and hopefully maybe one of our new members will hopefully take it up. It's a traditional bow, so it's an ideal bow for starting off. No moving bits and pieces or anything like that, nothing too complicated about it. And but it's a great way of starting off. So hopefully now it'll get one of the members now up and going fairly soon.
Cool. Excellent. Every bit of help matters or something. So this episode is going to be on archery clubs and the community in Ireland. So hopefully what we'll cover is how to find and join a club in Ireland.
Sure.
We'll talk about the experience of joining a club and meeting other archers.
Yeah.
And the social and competitive aspects of it. We'll get on it, so.
Absolutely.
Give me, demanding, an overview of the archery scene in Ireland, like how popular is archery in Ireland. I think, and I hate using this phrase, but I think we touched on it in the last episode. How it's growing.
I think it's demystifying now. It's the whole mystery around archery is, I think it's beginning to dissipate a little bit now as more and more people explore it and get into it. I think it's a great thing. There was a certain, I suppose, a novelty element to it when people would talk about archery, and also a certain level of elitism as well that was within the area of a more kind of one of those kind of particular kind of isolated kind of class element, but it's not like that at all. So the whole kind of exclusivity seems to be going away, which is great. So that's happening because more and more people are doing it, which is great. So with that, you have a number of clubs starting to emerge. You've obviously got the larger clubs out there, but there's a lot of smaller clubs now starting to emerge as well. So I think at the last AGM, they said there was something like nearly 800 archers out there in Ireland.
Really?
That's an amazing number. And that's just IFAF alone. No, I think it's great to see people getting into it.
And how would somebody go about finding
a club? It's most people, I find a club is through word and mouth at the moment. It's just maybe a friend or a family member has taken it up. But if you're starting off from the very, very beginning, what they should do is there's a few, now, and I don't want to discriminate from other archery bodies, but the more commonly known larger archery governing bodies in Ireland are Archery Ireland. You've got IFAF and SIFA, for example. Now, Archery Ireland would be very much a kind of more kind of a Olympic kind of heritage background. They'd be very much target-based kind of focus. That's not to say that there's a treaty element there. Sure. There is. They have some magnificent courses out there. Great fun. But so you have Archery Ireland, and there's a number of Archery Ireland clubs out there. Yeah. Again, focus on target archery. You've got IFAF, or the Irish Field Archery Federation, and they'd be more of a field archery group. Again, represented by a number of clubs out there. Field archery is a very strong outdoor element there as well. So there's some beautiful courses out there all around the country where you can do 3D competitions, but also there's a field competition. Don't be taken away by the name of that, but a field competition where it's actually target faces.
Sure.
But again, it's in the woods. Very often in the woods. It's outdoor. It can be laid out on a flat course, but in Ireland, because if the woods, some courses out there that in woods, people just change out the treaty targets, put in the field targets. It's an outdoor pursuit. You've got SIFA, the Society of Irish Field Archers, very similar to IFAF as well. Some small differences, but a very similar format as well.
And would they have the clubs listed on their sites?
And each of those bodies, if you go into Archery Ireland, if you go into IFAF or the SIFA, there's each one of those have a section there on their sites, club listing in Ireland, and then you can see whichever club is there. And you
probably would have been easier for me to do it that way, because I literally just used to follow Leash Archery on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook is actually where Archery has a very strong presence. So literally, look, it's always the standard thing. If somebody's thinking about taking up archery, Google it.
Yeah.
That's not to be dismissive or kind of put it literally, and then see where you go. Yeah. And you'll more than likely bump into Archery Ireland or for SIFA. Now, the advantage is that if you join an Archery Ireland club, they came to an agreement some years ago whereby if you are a member of Archery Ireland, you can still turn up to an IFAF club shoot. Yeah. There's a mutual agreement there where you're covered by insurance. Yeah. It's afforded a great flexibility to archers, and it's really opened up the community. Yeah. And so where people have been
divisive.
Yeah, exactly. So people, when they were in that area and they didn't go to the other type of archery because the insurance didn't cover them, but they've opened that up. And the only, I suppose, restriction, if you really want to call it that, is that if you are coming from another governing body to shoot and say another governing body's shoot, records mightn't be recognised because you're not a member of a club relating to that club. It doesn't detract from you getting out there and enjoying it, having a good time, meeting people.
Sure.
And if nothing else, beating your own personal best. And there's a lot of clubs out there. Some areas of the country will have maybe a number of clubs, other areas not, but that's changing.
So when joining a club, what should a beginner expect?
What should they expect?
Because when I joined, I actually didn't expect anything. I just went in blind, really.
They should expect a very basic introduction. Okay. And I think we touched upon it there last week about your own personal expectations there as well.
Yeah.
And when you're going in to do your beginner's course, and how the beginner's course is structured varies from club to club. It's not that anyone's better or worse than the other. It's just different coaches have their own different styles. But the layout and the approach is nearly always the same. When you do your beginner's course, it's not to expect to become Hawkeye after it. It's an introductory course.
I heard that his form is really bad anyway.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, those arrows, the front and centre on them, different arrows in his quiver, that's a big no-no. But we're not going to go there. That's going to open up a whole other can of worms for another episode.
So, there is actually, there is later down the way.
But yeah, look, it's not to expect, again, you go in, and like with everything, don't expect coming out after your however long the beginner's course is that you're going to be an archery master.
Yeah.
It's an introductory course.
Yeah.
So like that, not to expect too much from it. And as the weeks progress and you might be struggling with grouping or form, do not judge the rest of your archery journey on those first initial sessions, because these are just purely, it's very much a taster. It's more of a safety kind of element of things, just to kind of introduce archery, familiarize yourself with the basics of the bow. The real journey, the real kind of one-on-one focus starts after you've done your beginner's course. That's where you start dealing one-on-one with hopefully a coach in your club.
Yeah.
And they'll work with you on your form, your bow style, and really fine-tune it down so you can actually really get the most out of yourself and your bow for that. So the beginner's course, don't expect too much from it. It is what it is. It's an introduction just to get you shooting safe and the basics of etiquette and bow design. And they'll touch upon competitions, but not in any kind of big way.
I've been doing it a few months, and even people who've been doing it like yourself and other people who've been doing it years, like they still have problems with their grouping, and they have off days and everything else.
Absolutely.
So there is that kind of, don't be thinking that you're going to be leaving and perfect.
And you'd be surprised that
ever evolving.
The smallest change can have a huge impact on your grouping as well.
Yeah.
Whether it's a different arrow or you've changed something on your bow or a different knock point or brace height, all these different things.
I'm going to bring it up,
what?
The bloody thing that you put on the string. The knock
point. Yeah.
Sorry, my brain today is just bad.
It's
the knock point on my bow, and you moved the position.
Yeah.
And that ruined my shooting until I pointed it out to you.
It changed your shooting.
But of course, when I pointed it out to you, I then shot one of the balloons, and I was like, "Shut up! That was a fluke."
Yeah. I walked up to you. You were like, oh, this is terrible. This isn't working. This is not working well. What you've done to my bow, like, it's just not working. Fine, fire a shot there, and you got the balloon. And
yeah,
then,
but that was
and then you looked at me, and I looked at you, and I walked away.
You ruined my bow. It's not even my bow. Yeah, look, are there misconceptions about joining archery clubs?
Again, I suppose I touched upon it there before. I'm going to touch upon it, but look, the misconceptions out there is not to think that you're joining some elite kind of thing, some exclusive kind of elite club that you're going to have to all of a sudden up your game like within the first few months of joining it. You're not. It's not like that at all. Go in there with an open mind, and the only person you need to expect anything from is from yourself and nobody else.
Yeah, that's the main thing. The only person you're in competition with is
but
yourself.
Definitely, but if you're in any way curious about it, give it a go.
Absolutely.
At least put that aside. Don't let any kind of preconceptions. I'm at a certain stage in life, or I'm at a certain. Don't let that put you off. If you have a space there or some room to give it a go, do that, and then see where you go.
Yeah, exactly. Could be the best thing you've ever done.
It could be. The other misconception about archery is that people have this notion that when you mention bow and arrow, the people are just running around the place shooting things, and it's not like that. Particularly when you're doing an outdoor shoot.
Yeah, it's all like.
Yeah, this is it. So the courses, when a club sets up a course, it's set up. You have to do a course design.
Yes.
Course.
Yeah.
And you'd be signed off as a course setter. And then even though a club might set up their course, it has to be inspected by an independent member of another club. And they come along, they'll sign off the course. And that course has to follow certain protocols in terms of, say, overshoots. So, for example, like when somebody sets up a target, that there's a safety zone each side and beyond it as well.
Yeah.
That there's a set path that archers will walk along, and and the target is set out in such a way that they're away from the paths of archers as well. And that's a one-way system, so that you walk along the path, you walk along the full length of it, circular, and out the course to the end. There's no walking back. There's a certain discipline there about setting up a course, and it's something that is taken very seriously. But because look, at the end of the day, there's an insurance body that has to stand over that as well. So it's not a case of people just pick up a bow and they just randomly go out and shoot stuff. There is a discipline there in setting up the course, and also archery bodies, like, you have to be an affiliated member. You have to have to go out and compete as well. To be covered, you have to have your membership number, whether it's Archery Ireland or CIFA or IFAF as well. It's not a case of people just going out there randomly shooting stuff. Even there, like you see in our hall, that, I mean, when we have our safety line, we have our safety barriers, we have a safety net, we call the line.
The sign on the door.
And the sign on the door. So right down to a practice session in a hall, we have to maintain that kind of safety discipline, if you like. But that's just, and then when people see that, all of a sudden, yeah, do you know what? That actually makes sense. That misconception is just put aside immediately. Never comes up again.
Laois Archery was the first club you joined.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was fun. It was really good. Really enjoyed it, and I made some very good friends there as well. They've got a beautiful course. It's quite big woods. They're putting a lot of work into developing it. And they've had a number of championships there as well. Bow hunter championships, which would be the 3D ones, and field and hunter championships as well. So it's an ongoing, it's a work in progress. But again, clubs, it's always work in progress.
I think it's quite obvious, but how does being part of a club enhance practicing archery? I mean, I think it's vital that you're part of a club, really.
I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Because one of the main reasons I think people join archery, even though not all of them will admit it, is that sense of maybe belonging and part of a community as well, and that you have something in common. You mightn't always have the same objective, but you've got the same journey in common in many ways. And I think that's a natural kind of inherent thing going way back, that sense that we're social creatures by nature. Now, some of us prefer our own company, others maybe are more gregarious out there, but we are social creatures by nature. And I think archery offers a sense of community.
But I also think it's vital that you have people to check your form and everything else as well.
Absolutely, 100%. And like that, an archer out there should be comfortable in being able to touch base with a coach that they trust or they've a bit of a relationship with, that, look, something's not right here.
Yeah.
Something's, my bow doesn't feel right, or I don't feel right, or my last 2 competitions are tanked. What's going on? And very often it mightn't be anything to do with your form, it mightn't be anything to do with your bow. It's just headspace and nothing else. And that's all part of what the coach-athlete relationship, this is where it's important as well, that it's a multifaceted thing. It's not just about drills. It's not just about continuous practice. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. And sometimes it's just a case of, take some time out, take a break. Or stop focusing on that target. Maybe try a thing called blank bailing, for example. Shoot it, which is a bare backstop, and just take your mind off the dead center. It's just a refocus, grounding kind of thing. And sometimes, and it doesn't mean that you just stop shooting or stop competing. You just need to step back from your own expectation of yourself as well. So this is where if an archer is out there and something's not going, not to beat themselves up about it, well, a little bit, but not much. But touch base with your coach or someone that you trust or someone that you feel is a good source. Because you know what, there's archers out there, they're not coaches, then they never will be coaches, but they're fantastic support and fantastic sources of advice out there as well. Touch base with somebody, they'll probably notice something that you don't. And that's the funny thing about your shot cycle. Very often there might be something there that you mightn't be completely aware of. Your position of your elbow, whether you're leaning forward, backwards, leaning inwards, outwards, what your release, your follow through, everything. You might think you're going grand, but another set of eyes, no, hang on.
It's like the other week when you said to me, like, you're shooting with 2 fingers.
Yeah.
And I didn't even notice because my brain farted and decided that's what we were doing at that stage. Instead of the 3 fingers. And I was just like, what the hell was that?
And even like, that's not even just from a critical point of view. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? And you're like, actually, I'm not sure. But it's just a conversation, that's all.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if somebody's comfortable shooting 3 fingers, it's good for me to know that because there might be a reason behind that. That's all part of the conversation you have with a coach or anybody for that matter.
This is the thing I've noticed. I don't know if it's because of my ADD or if it's just because I'm still learning, but there's so many things to how your positioning, like the way I stand. And I was trying a different stand the other week. You know, what way my foot is, what way am I leaning?
Yeah.
You know, because I was for a while, and people can't see, but I was pulling the bow like this. And I was holding it to that angle and shooting, and I quite liked that.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was having a bit of difficulty, and I literally just moved my stance slightly. And it's just all these little things. Yeah. And so occasionally your brain will just blip. And then you that's the good thing of having someone around to go, oh, what's happening there? And you're like, oh, yeah. And it pulls you back in a little bit.
And it's interesting you say that because one of the things is from your course, we do a thing called the KSL shot cycle. And there's like 12 steps in that, whatever it is. But as Nick Anton, who's the national head coach with FF, will often point out, particularly when he's coaching coaches, one coaches, is that fine, you've got your 12 cycle, but your own personal shot cycle could be like 30 or 40 steps. Because even though like your anchor point might be 1 step, there might be 3 or 4 steps within that actual anchor as well. Is there like 3 or 4 positions on your face where you make contact? What will you think? And this is all where I suppose it's an ongoing journey, and it could be. And you will eventually find that position or that cycle that suits you, but you have to explore that. As you say, your stance, your hook, your grip, your release, your follow through. This is all something that you're going to figure out. But that's the joy of it as well. It's that learning experience. But as these things become more repetitive and muscle memory kicks in, and you start to, and the more one thing becomes more repetitive, you start to focus on something else and fine tune that.
Yeah.
And your grouping, as we touched upon last week, gets smaller and smaller, and things start to click. That's all part of the journey. And this is going back to the whole misconception thing. That's not going to happen in 6 weeks. It's not going to happen in 8 weeks. For some people, it's years.
I actually love the grouping thing, though. I love it. Because, like, at the start, I was like, why am I not getting a bullseye? I should be getting a bullseye. No. Why am I perfect? Yeah. And you were like, no, but the grouping is really good.
Yeah.
And now, if I am shooting and my grouping's all over the place, I'm like, right, what did I do wrong here?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I have to go back, basically. And every time I shoot, then I'm kind of like, okay, so we changed this. Yeah. Okay, so that's made that happen.
And the smallest change can have a massive impact. But even, like, your grouping, you might say they're all over the place, but somebody could look at that going, and they might hang on a second, it's not center, but they're following a certain pattern.
Yeah.
They're horizontal, they're linear, they're whatever. And that tells the coach or another archer something, and they're right, you know what, let's try this.
Like the whole thing of if they were over to the left and they're doing this, it means that there's a shake,
isn't it? Yeah, or you could be doing a thing called torquing your bow, where you might be gripping the bow too hard and twisting it. Or if they're up and down, it could be maybe you're dropping your bow hand. Yeah. But these are just first things. It's fascinating. And these are all just first point checks for a coach. I'm not saying that's the reason, but these are points of references. And very often you might have, say, a row of arrows and it's a straight line all the way down the thing. Oh, look at that now happening. But a coach, but they're straight. What does that mean? It means that you're anchoring. There's a consistency there in your anchor and your release. Really, we're just a case of gapping or follow through, or maybe your bow hand is dropping. These are all things we can work on and zoom in on and find. I'm not saying that's exactly the issue, but you can close in on these things. And then going back to the whole bow-archer relationship, it might be the bow as well. You know, if the arrows are going left or right, add the correct spine. If they're going up and down, where's the knock point located? No.
The controversy of the knock point.
These are all little things, and you tune the bow
Yes.
with the archer as well, and it's an exploratory journey. And you change one thing, it has a knock-on effect with other things.
But this is why I think it's vital that you're part of a club and you have a coach as well, because of these things can be highlighted and corrected.
Yeah.
If you're on your own, you might know, but you don't have that outside perspective.
And look, I mean, if you're on your own, I suppose there is always YouTube, and if that's what people want to do, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I don't mind admitting it. I'm from a technical point of view, I've learned like 99% about what I know about bows from a technical perspective. I've learned from YouTube and Google, and that's fine. That's not a criticism of anybody in particular. I think being part of a club, though, it depends on what you're looking for as well. And but being part of a club, if you want to be part of a club, it's nice to know that you have that resource and that support there to draw upon, and that you're comfortable in actually approaching somebody. It's very important, and say, look, I've got an issue here. Can you spend some time with me and help me work it out?
Exactly. There was the one night I remember you staying behind while everybody else was out having tea and coffee and stuff, and you stood there with me and you were like, try this and try that, and we did the chasing the arrow and all that kind of stuff. And it really, even I think we were there for about 15 minutes maybe, give or take. It really made a huge difference.
Yeah, but anyone in the club there, I'd like to think, is there for that support, like, as well.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a club a good club, is that when an archer's there, that they feel comfortable and maybe safe enough to be able to approach anyone in that club for assistance.
No, definitely. With strongbow, like, it's not something I would hesitate to do, to go up to somebody and just go, can you help me with this, or can you just watch this and see what you think I'm doing here, or whatever, you know what I mean? There's nobody in that club's going to tell you to sod off.
No, actually.
It's really not. Other than me, probably. Nobody's going to tell you to sod off. It's actually a really nice club to be in. I'm glad, actually, you set it up, to be honest. So what role do you think the clubs have in introducing young children to the sport?
I think they have a key role, very important, because, like I said, the mainstream sports aren't for everybody.
No, absolutely not.
And that's not a detraction or a criticism, because everybody's different. Everybody's got different motivations and different kind of objectives and things like that. But I think Archery offers a broad range of avenues for people who want to be either sporty or just social. And for young people as well, when Daniel and Olivia started doing it, weren't that many kids doing it? No, I know it comes and goes in waves. Maybe it was like that maybe a few years before they started, and then there was a dip. But I think for Olivia in particular, it's been very important for her that she's not only competing against and amongst her peers, but she's built up a really good, healthy friendship with them as well, and relationship with them as well. And it's really nice to see.
Yeah.
You have that rivalry, but there's no animosity might be a strong word, but that kind of a begrudgingly competitive aspect to it. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It is a sport at the end of the day. But I think for young people, I think because when you're out in a competition, even though you're competing against each other, you have to be mutually supportive as well.
Absolutely.
And you've got two score takers. You've got somebody pulling arrows. You've got people looking for arrows. You've got a score captain. So you have that kind of, even though you're competing against each other, you are depending on each other as well. And even from a safety point of view, you're looking out for each other as well. So even though you have that you're not completely operating in isolation, like where you're just completely competing against that person and absolutely nothing else. There is that interdependency as well. Now, depending on the competition, if it's an international competition, yes, it is competitive, but it's in the same spirit of cooperation as well. At local level, national competitions, it's much more social. But I think I think for young people as well, for kids getting into it, it's a nice way of learning that kind of, I suppose, mutual responsibility, discipline, etiquette, respect, safety, everything like that. Even right down just care for their own equipment as well.
Yeah, definitely. And what kind of events and competitions or like social gatherings do clubs typically organise?
Some of the national championship shoots, and when I say that, I don't say that in a kind of a highly kind of competitive. They're competitive. They'll often be like 2-day events, even though you'll do maybe a competition on the Saturday and a competition on the Sunday. But very often there's camping. There's barbecuing that evening, and it's just really good fun. You've got more of what we call the fun shoots. Now, when I say fun shoots, again, they still follow the same safety protocols as setting up a regular competition. There's clubs out there, the Dunbrody 100, and when they say it's 100, it's actually 200. You shoot 100 targets on the Saturday, 100 targets on the Sunday. It's very draining, very exhausting.
Just standard targets, like
it's 3D targets. It's a 3D course. Yeah, yes, it's great fun.
That sounds great.
It is. But the demand for it is phenomenal. You really have to get in quick. It's great fun. It's amazing fun, and you meet some amazing people there. And what's nice about it then as well, you've got people traveling from other parts of the world just to do it, the other organizations just to do it. It's great fun, and there's camping and barbecue session, really good fun. There's a lovely course at Mayo Archery, for example. They'll hold a competition, I think it's maybe twice a year, and it's 50 targets, and it's Massbrook, I think it is, in the woods. I don't know how many against that, but it's a beautiful course, and again very popular. And so it'd be the more social fun shoots. If competing in games weren't your thing, and again you meet people, great fun. There's a shoot on this year. There's a club called Black Castle Archers and Limerick Archery. They're organising a shoot this year whereby you shoot, I think, the Black Castle course on the Saturday, and then half an hour on the road, go down to Limerick on the Sunday. It's a 2-day shoot, and you have options there to camp and barbecue. Again, it's a gathering more than anything else. It's going to be great fun. I'm really looking forward to that this year because they're both amazing clubs. And
it's a good initiative, though.
Yeah, it is. And this is because you're thinking outside the box as well. You're not just sticking to the competition format, even though I mean you have to deliver. They're thinking, but let's look at the fun element here, and the social aspect as well, and that's reflected in the demand for as well. So I'm really looking forward to them.
And what, if any, are some of the challenges facing archery clubs in Ireland today?
Oh,
would it be like
tenure? Okay, and I think one of the biggest problems is having a place. Okay, I think that's the biggest issue facing archery clubs. Fortunately, now look at there's been amazing support from the various departments in terms of grants, funding from local partnerships and things like that. They really are delivering and providing a great resource for the clubs. But if some clubs have the benefit of having maybe their own woods, or they're renting the private woods, and that's grand, but they mightn't have an indoor venue to practice. Other clubs have got an indoor venue, but they mightn't have an outdoor. And then also with some of the indoor venues, sometimes they're not always guaranteed that they're going to have that for any long length of time. Sometimes it's more archery clubs having their own secure, ring-fenced place they can call their own. Some clubs are very fortunate in that they can, but a lot of clubs aren't in that position. Now we're very fortunate with Killinard Community Centre. They've been extremely supportive of us, and it's an amazing venue, and it's really I like to think it's contributing something to the area, and the feedback we're getting back is amazing. We're very fortunate. And look, maybe someday we'll have an outdoor, but at the moment we don't at the moment. And but like I said, that's one of the biggest issues facing archery clubs, and I think it's actually caused some archery clubs to actually close. It's just not having a place secure, because it's one thing having a place, you need somewhere to store the gear as well. And so you have that too. And so whether it's an outdoor venue where it's woods, a forest, or an indoor venue, I'd say that's one of the biggest problems facing archery clubs.
Are you going to drink your coffee before it goes cold? Or has it gone cold?
I don't care. There's coffee. Was that your way of subtly telling me I was rambling?
No, it was my way of saying don't waste my coffee.
This is my second coffee. I'm not wasting it.
My beautiful coffee. So if somebody was hesitant to join an archery club,
yes,
how would you convince them to give it a go? Like,
gently. They're not. You could tell them to have a go. Okay, that's fine, but that's not going to. They're just having a go. I would certainly invite them to have a chat with people, particularly people who've only just taken it up in the previous couple of years, and just get a feel for their own personal experience, because everybody's got their own little personal story, and I think that's always the icebreaker. It's not the fact, oh, look, there's great competitions and you can get this fantastic bow and these are the things you can win. That's not, I think, is what convinces people. It's other people's little personal story.
Hopefully, as we go through all of this, people listening will be encouraged to get out there and give it a bit of a go.
And definitely, and like I said, just chat to the people who are doing it. I said, particularly people who are only just taking it up in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And the most important thing, it's all about fun.
Yeah, exactly. And like,
have a bit of fun.
As I said in the first episode, I'm one of these really competitive people who's, I didn't get it right first time, so I'm not doing it anymore. But it hasn't been like that with archery. I don't know what's happened.
There's room for that too, but within me.
I don't know what it is about archery, but it's changed my mentality in that kind of way. Look, if I could go out and play rugby now, I'd still be battering people and trying to win everything. When I'm doing archery, just my mentality is a lot different, because it is, without trying to sound like a hippie and everything, it is very spiritual in some ways.
Yeah. No, I said there's something very mindful, whether it's going out there and just, whether it's shooting a few arrows, or like with me, just working on something, whether it's a string or a bow, just you zone out and just focus on that.
It's a great release.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it and having great fun too.
So people can go to the IFAF website.
The IFAF website or Archery Ireland or CIFA. They're just three of them. There's other bodies out there, so it's not just I'm just picking those. Also, to be fair, like we are affiliated to IFAF as well, so I know more about them than anything else. But definitely, first touch base website, look up the list of clubs, and then look, it's up to you. Reach out to them and have a chat and ask when the next beginners course is on. And the beauty is that if you can't do a beginners course in one club, if it's handy if you do it in another club, do that, because once you have your IFAF number, you can still attend. You can still join a club, and all those competitions, all those venues are open to you now.
And like I said in the first episode, people can contact us. We have email.
We have an email. It's strongbowarchers, all one word, lowercase, @gmail.com.
That's not the one I gave it in the first episode, though.
Oh.
Archery, not anarchy, @gmail.com.
Oh, sorry, I touched with this club.
No,
sorry.
Fine. It's all about
oh my God.
Club, Owen. It's
that was
fine.
Oh my God, that was a plug.
No,
sorry.
That's fine. It's all about you.
But that's our independence compromised.
It's okay.
So it's Archery, not anarchy.
Archery, not anarchy, @gmail.com.
Archery, not anarchy, @gmail.com.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's okay. But we want people to contact the club anyway, so
with their stories, their contributions, their anecdotes.
Yeah, but there's that. And we also have a Blue Sky account. Do you know what Blue Sky is?
Nope.
It's the alternative to X.
I don't know what that is either.
Twitter.
Okay.
It's the alternative to that. We won't go into the politics of it.
No.
But it's archery, not anarchy, .bsky, whatever the hell. Just look us up there and you'll find us.
I'll do that.
The listeners, not you.
No, I have to do it as well. I don't mind that stuff. This is the first I've heard of this.
Yeah, no, in fairness, I was going hell for leather on everything and leaving you out, and you're only coming in at the 11th hour, so I do appreciate that.
Yeah, the 11th hour works for me.
But yeah, we have our ways to contact. We're not on Facebook or anything like that.
No.
So, like, people want to contact us, they can contact us through those.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll have some questions from them and things like that we can answer. The club is on Facebook.
Yes.
So if people want to look us up in Leash.
Strongbow, and that's actually another story in itself, but we won't go there at the Strongbow name. But
can do.
You
sure?
That's another episode in itself.
I'll add it to the list.
We'll add it to the list. Yeah. It's an ongoing saga, actually.
It is.
Yeah, well, it's not saga. It's more of a
evolution.
Epic.
So, is there anything else you would like to add or say or anything?
No.
I'm trying to not say anything bad to you. Stop bullying you for one day.
That's okay.
So, will we finish there then?
We finish it, and thank you very much. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for your time once again, Owen. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of Archery, Not Anarchy. Hope you enjoyed it. We do have a planned list of topics to cover, but we tend to kind of deviate and go from it. So I'm not going to say what the next episode is going to be. We're kind of winging it. Also, with regards to audio quality and things like that, we don't record from a studio. We don't have high-tech equipment. Again, we're winging it. That seems to be the theme of the whole thing. So thanks so much for your time, and hopefully you'll join us again next week. Take care, and until then, stay in by the wall and mind the arrows.